welcome to another amazing day at fmtraining.tv. My name is Margaret. I'm here with the wonderful senior engineer Calvin, who many of you have seen before.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Calvin. Calvin is a really truly fantastic engineer who has presented with us many times before on a wide variety of subjects. And as I pull up the schedule, today he's talking about resolving duplicate records in FileMaker, which is a pretty common problem a lot of people run into. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll be building extreme reports with FileMaker. Friday will be an open server Q&A, and Tuesday we'll be continuing the building extreme reports with FileMaker. Probably have Nick do a Monday the week after next week, so that'll have the Monday there as well. That'll be a pretty long Nick series, about 9 days in total. If you'd like to support the channel, we'd greatly appreciate it. We have the FM Training Annual Subscription Bundle. It is 100 plus hours of really high energy video content and training. Richard is pretty much our main presenter, but we have a lot of other presenters in there as well, including Calvin himself. We pretty much cover everything there is to know about becoming a developer in your own right. So if you've got no idea and you want to get into FileMaker and create your own files, this is a really great way to do it if you want to teach yourself, or if you have gaps in your own knowledge. You're like, I know, Pro really well, but I don't actually know, for example, Server all that well. We cover that in this series. I highly recommend it. So if you already bought it, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. With that being said, Calvin, what are we doing today?
Today we're looking at resolving duplicate records in FileMaker, specifically duplicate contacts. So this is something that we run into a lot of times, especially if we're importing a bunch of data into FileMaker. And so this is a kind of streamlined way of identifying and resolving those duplicates. So let's go. I'm going to go ahead and show my screen. This is all based in FM Starting Point. So this is actually a copy of FM Starting Point. I downloaded earlier this week and added this. And so a couple things. We'll walk through just how this works for you, and then kind of work through how the features work. Because what we've done here is that resolving duplicates needs to be something that's pretty easy, because we run into it, users run into it a bunch, and often there's those duplicate records. I know in finished goods, I had duplicate records for a while, and I was getting double the emails that I needed from RCC. But so here, I try to streamline that, make it something that's really easy and user-friendly for people. So here we're looking at the contacts detail area, and I've got two buttons that help with duplicates. So we've got potential duplicates, and then we have find records with potential duplicates. So here we've got the number 2, and it's saying that there's 2 potential duplicates. If I open this, we'll see those in this nice portal, and we can review those, and we'll see the names all match. Ryan Alvarez Smith. Now I can also have this find records with potential duplicates, and that's performing a find right here in this layout. So right now we've got 26 records. That's the entire found set. If I say find, then it does a perform find. And as we go through here, you'll see each one of these people has potential duplicates. And there's a number there. If they don't, they weren't in there, and their potential duplicates is 0. So that's what we want to see. Let's go back over here. And so if we open this up, we can see that there's a few different Ryan Alvarez's here. And we'll see that there's a note for each of these people. We've got Ryan Alvarez and then the contact number. Let's go ahead and look at this first one, contact 19. We'll say review. And so what's nice here is that we've got a few indicators showing what's going on in this record. So we see these match buttons, these match indicators, and that is looking at the different fields and saying what was a match for these 2 records, why they were identified as a duplicate. And so we see all these phone numbers match, and we see one arrow here. Now this looks pretty important, that this record 22, he's marked as the primary contact for this company, but in record 19 he's not. So I've got this nice arrow. I can just arrow that over and save that information here. So quick way to save all the information that you want. Now and there's no other arrows, so that means that all the rest of the data matches. And I can say not a duplicate or merge. And let's go back for just 1 second. So we'll see right now he's got 1 note, 2 contacts. If we go back into there, and I will say merge, and now that record is gone, and I can say find duplicate to see if there's any others. Let's go back. Now we'll see there's only 1 duplicate, potential duplicate, and I've got 2 notes. So it combined those both sets of notes into the 1 record. So that's real handy instead of having to go through and manage all of those child tables and manually move them into the same contact. We've got a real slick way of doing it right there. So let's look at this next one. And this one, we'll see there's fewer things matching. This looks like a more incomplete record. Now you'll see I can't change any records here, any fields here, but I can change them over here because this is the primary record that we want to focus on. I'm going to say merge. And when we go back, we'll see now there's 3 records here, and it combined all of those records. Let's go to the next one. Do we have any questions before we're going to dive into how this works in just a minute? But I wanted to show this particular one because we see here we've got Paulina, and there's a bunch of potential records, potential duplicates, and I have Tad and Rowan, which seems very strange. Those shouldn't be duplicates. And here, same thing. And here, neither of these look like duplicates. So let's go ahead and review this. Now we got we're looking at 2 records that are identified as potential duplicates, and we want to know why. And we'll see here there's a match. So it looks like they work for the same company. So maybe this is a company phone number that matches between them, and that's why they were identified as possibly being a duplicate. I'm going to say not a duplicate. And so now we'll see that here, that other duplicate didn't show up. So let's try another one, Bonnie, and I'll say not a duplicate. And so now we're down to, well, that didn't work. Let me try one more time. Review, not a duplicate. And I might have to take a look at that one. What was the other one? So if we go to Vonnie, reverse it. I'll have to look at that a little deeper. So, we can mark things as being not duplicates so that they aren't suggested anymore. So let's go ahead and take a look at and dive under the hood and see how this is working. Any questions so far?
No, I don't see any on YouTube, Twitch.
So first of all, what's helpful is to identify which fields that we want to specify as being identified as being possible for duplicates. So let's go ahead and look at that. I've put all of these fields with underscores, so just so they're at the top of the list and easy to find. So I've got this ID not duplicate, ID select duplicate, and ID and the potential duplicate fields. So this is where we list what fields we want to use to identify somebody who is a duplicate. Now, here we've got the contact name, phone 1, phone 2, email, cell phone. I might even put in here, I think there's a cell phone 2 field as well. Yeah, cell phone 2. So if any of those fields match, then they will, if we list these fields and then we use them in a relationship to see if any records within in the same table have the same information. Now, you'll notice that when we were saying that the phone 1 field may have had a company phone number that's generic. Maybe we don't want that one. And just removing it is going to fix those potential duplicates. Let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and remove that. We'll see if that fixes anything. And I'll say okay. And let's go ahead and look at the relationship that is doing this. We'll jump over here to contacts. And we've got 2 relationships that are used in this feature. Again, I have an underscore just to bring them to the top so they're easy to find. we've got the one potential duplicate. And we'll notice here there's two fields that we're using. We're actually using the potential duplicate fields and matching the potential duplicate fields. If any one of those values in that list of fields that we put in there matches, then it's going to come up as a match. And sometimes it's not the whole field that has to match. Any one of those values matching will create that relationship. The other thing that we need to do is make sure that we're not going to get the same record. So we put the primary key to primary key and say the primary keys can't match. We don't want the same record to identify itself as a potential duplicate. That wouldn't make sense. So let's go ahead and say okay there. And then the second relationship, I just have this ID select duplicate, which is a global field paired to the primary key in contacts. And then just as a safeguard, so we don't try to delete the primary record, I'm not allowing the primary keys to match, so we don't accidentally match up the same record on both sides. Say okay. Any questions so far?
Not particularly. It's more just commentary.
Okay.
Is it possible to search for? I'm not quite sure if you're asking a question, David. Like multiple duplicates, like possible duplicates, like for example, if like they have different names, like Kyle with a Y, Kyle with an I, or then Kyle with like two L's.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a pretty simple. If we look at the way that this is indexed, it's not going to do alternate spellings. So it's actually just listing in that list of fields, the contact name full has to match. So if we look at, I'm going to cancel out of here and select one of these. So actually, let me just delete this. And I'm going to create a new record and say Ryan. Now, Ryan isn't going to match anything. But if I do Ryan, and I'm just going to copy this, Alvarez Smith, then because these names match, then it's going to pop up. But if I spell Smith differently, it's not. If you wanted to do something that was a little smarter, have some kind of field index there that changed or did alternate spellings, you could probably do something like that. But right now, we're just looking at the various those field values, and you could really put any field in there, and see if and compare any data point. So what's nice about this, if you wanted to try to do something with it, is this field list, you can add anything in here to evaluate. Now, you probably don't want to put in an account name because people are going to have the same account name for multiple contacts. But it's flexible that you can change that. So let's go ahead and pull this one up. And so now we see here we have a match that's based on the Ryan Alvarez Smith. I'll say merge. So those are merged once again. Now let's go back to this one. We'll review. Now these people, this is definitely a duplicate. You can see the name matches, phone numbers match, the email matches. We need to say merge on this one. So let's go ahead and see something here though. I want to do, some of this data. Now, what if the data didn't match between the two records? There was something different between them. And let me go back. So let's say this person's president, department is executive, primary contact with this company, cell phone, we'll just put a number in. Fax. Now, I didn't use the fax because lots of people share a fax number, so I didn't think that would make sense. And change these statuses. Let's say inactive. And now what I want to do is switch these two. So let's go to the other one. Let's try this first one. So here you'll notice that a bunch of these, we have a bunch of arrows that appear in the potential duplicate record. And that allows us to quickly move the data over. And let's go ahead and look at how these arrows are set up. I'm going to go into layout mode. So each field here, and you could have as many fields on this as you wanted. I just chose to use these, the primary contact fields. Each one has a hide condition on it so that the user is drawn to the items that don't match the data in the master record. And so first I have the master record information and then the potential duplicate information. And I check to see if the values match. If they match, I'm going to hide the arrow. And I check to make sure that it's not empty. So if they match or if it's empty, it's hidden. And otherwise, we're displaying it. And in this case, you'll see the names are the same. So those are hidden, but the title is different. So I can arrow that over. Now let's go ahead and see how this script works. Now, one of the things, it went through a few different versions of this script. And this version is the reason I used it. In this case, in this demo, I'm not using an audit log, but in this demo or this version of the script was the best for the audit log that I had implemented in a previous iteration of this. So here, we're using the same script for each of these buttons. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you could do this. You could have a different script for every button to move the data over. You could have one really long script where you pass a script parameter and it says, if it's this field, then do this. If this field, then do this. And your script could be 100 lines long or more. It's depending on how many fields you have as well. But in this case, I used, I wanted things to be as concise as possible, a short script. And I knew I was going to need a script parameter or either a lot of scripts. So I went with the script parameter and used it this way. So what we're doing is we are going to an object that's specified in the script parameter. If you look down here on the script parameter, we have field underscore department, and then the next value is executive. So we'll see that the department that we had selected, executive, is the value we're bringing over, and field underscore department is the field that we're going to. So this does require that we name each of these fields. So let's go ahead and walk through this. It goes to the field. It sets the variable with the second value from the script parameter, executive, and then it inserts the value and then commits the record. Now, the reason why this was so handy for an audit log is if you're using the audit log that takes place on object enter and on object modify, then this script would trigger the audit log to run without having to run any extra, without having to have the script call a subscript to run the audit log. It just happened automatically. And so that way we kept the that way we made it as simple as possible. So we can arrow the rest of these over if we wanted to, and bring them over. So here we probably want, if we decide the person is these, we want to leave them as active, we can do that. Now let's say merge, and let's go. Do we have any questions about the arrows and how that was set up, or any other questions up to this point?
We do have questions. We have,
go ahead.
One, do you use something like tag if the number of values are matched more than 2?
I'm not sure I follow that question. Do we use a tag?
Yeah.
If
tags. If the number of values is matched more than 2. So like if there's more duplicates, I guess.
Is that in?
That is in Discord.
Discord? to use something like tag if the number of values matched more than 2. I don't think I understand the question. So right here, we're counting how many values match through that relationship. If we want to look at this, this is I believe we're talking about how we track those values. If we look at this calculation, we're just saying potential duplicates, and then we're counting how many are matched between that, through that relationship based on the potential duplicate field. And so I think that, the only way we're counting it is right here. The person has to resolve duplicates one by one.
Oh, they were sorry. Yes, it appears like you answered that question. They were late, so they missed that.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Oh, I see. Okay, got it. Okay. Any other questions at this point?
No, I saw people typing, but I will catch their question when they finish typing it. So you are free.
Okay. The one other thing to show you here is this match field, or this match badge. And in this case, what we're doing is we're just checking to make sure the value isn't empty and the values match. So pretty basic hide feature to get the matches set up. And so in this case, we removed the phone 1 as an option. So we probably want to remove that to indicate that was what was used to match the records. At this point, I'm just going to leave it. So I'm going to say merge. Do we have any other questions before we jump into the merge script?
You could create a text, then go invisible if the count is less or greater than 1. You
could, yep. So sometimes I have it set. Sometimes people want to know that there's no duplicates, so we have it always display, and sometimes I have it change color if there are duplicates. But yeah, you could have it hide if you wanted to as well, which is what I'd probably prefer. So here let's dive into this merge script. And here, one thing that I'm doing, so if you've got a lot of data and a lot of child records, it's going to take a lot of time to process those records, especially if you have a lot of audit logs, notes, anything. So one thing that this script does is it checks to see if we can run the app or run the script on using PSOS, perform script on server. So here, let's go ahead and look at this script. And that's why we give it, I'm choosing to use a script parameter to identify which is the master script and which is the other script, which is the master record and which is the duplicate record. So here we can say perform script on server, giving the script parameter and calling itself. And this call PSOS is a custom function that I'm using that just evaluates, is the app hosted? Is there and is it the right version? Older versions won't support it. I think that since FileMaker 13, everything supports it, so it's not really a problem anymore. So when it runs on the server, and it starts by using the assign with the script parameter, using these to generate these IDs. So this assign will generate the IDs from the script parameter, and then it opens a new window and goes through each of the potential child tables and finds if there's any related records for that contact. And so we see, and I kind of illustrated how it working in notes. So let's just jump down to notes. It goes to the notes table view and then performs a find. And it's just ID duplicate on that contact field, the ID contact foreign key in notes. If the last error is 0, that means records were found. It then does a replace field contents on the ID with ID master, which is the primary record. And it does that for, this is a copy of FM starting point. And I don't know that I did all the tables, but I did most of the main ones. It does it for documents, notes, projects, expenses, invoices, tasks. And so there's most of the primary ones. There's estimates isn't in there. But and then finally, it deletes the duplicate. So it goes to contacts and then performs a find. And once again, this is looking for that duplicate, ID duplicate in the primary key. And if the record is found and if the found count is 1. So we just want to double check and make sure that we're deleting the right record. We delete the record with the dialog off, because if we're running this on the server, then we are then that's we want to give that we can't give a warning. Now, if you wanted to, you could have this as a subscript with a script that has a warning in it. Sometimes you might want to have a warning before you accidentally merge two records that don't need to be merged. And then it closes. Now, the nice thing about using this call PSOS function is that it doesn't break. It can run on using perform script on server, or it can run locally, and the demo doesn't break. I really hate demos that break when you use them locally. So let's go ahead and try this. I'll say save. Okay, and merge. And so now when we go back, we'll see there's only one more potential duplicate, and we'll say merge here. Going back, we're down to only one row, and we'll see our found set diminished there. Are there any questions about that script? Let me go ahead and open it back up.
I don't see any current questions.
Is anyone interested in looking at that custom function?
I mean, I think we'd all like to see it.
Yeah. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So what it does is it just a 0 means run, and calls so it checks to the application version and the application host version. And I guess I took out the option to see which version number it is, just because all supported versions support PSOS now. And it just makes sure that whether it's running on server or if it's not on server. So if the file is not hosted or the current app is server, it runs, which means it jumps past the if, it jumps past here and jumps to line 16. And then otherwise call PSOS is 1. So in that case, it'll call the perform script on server. So so if we call it locally, it will, in this case, it will give us a 0 because it's not hosted. If you call it on a hosted copy, it will give you a 1 initially, and then it calls itself, and then the server, when it runs again, it will give it a 0 and run through the whole process. So this is a technique I've used quite a bit to make things simple running on the server. Okay. So any other questions?
I don't see anything on YouTube or Twitch. Merging is always the hardest part. Calvin did a really good job here.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it to be easy, or seem easy. So let's go ahead and I'm going to say find, cancel. Oh, so now we don't have any more duplicates. That's great. Let's go ahead and go back to, so one feature I showed earlier didn't work. And I'm a little curious why it didn't work. Do we want to try to get that to work? I'm going to put phone 1 back in there. So now we're evaluating by another field. Now you'll see there, I just added a new field to be evaluated as a data point for the potential duplicates. And now we suddenly have 6 more duplicates. And that helps, and it just shows you how flexible it is if you want to track multiple things maybe you just want to track the cell phone and email. Maybe you want to track a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So let's go ahead and look at this person as a review. Now, these are definitely not duplicates. I'm going to say not. You go back and it's still there. So let's see what's going on here. I hate when things don't go quite right. We'll say not duplicate. And we goes through here. Now it sets ID not duplicate. And ID selected. Sets the other one. Clears it. I feel like that should be it. And it's still there. Oh, maybe this is a problem with that relationship. Looking in the wrong spot. Okay, so here's my problem. If you got the demo, you can change this because this isn't the file that I sent. You got the problem file. So we want to say not duplicate does not equal ID contact. We'll say add. So ID not duplicate does not equal ID contact, and that should fix the problem. So now we'll see Rowan is no longer in there. Let's see, review TAD. So not duplicate. And now we're at 0. TAD's not in there. And you'll see TAD. I'll see. So if we look at, we'll review TAD here. So TAD says Rowan is a duplicate. If we go to Rowan says TAD is a duplicate. And we see that match is based on that phone number. I say not duplicate. And now both Rowan and TAD have that removed. So we can go through and keep eliminating our duplicates and getting those resolved. But this makes it duplicate records can be really frustrating, especially for someone who isn't comfortable going through and making mass edits using like a replace field contents for those child records. And this a method like this just really streamlines it and helps your users to clean up their data as fast as possible. Let me jump over. Do we have any questions at this point? And I'm just going to go through here and see if there's any other features that I didn't dive into. I'm feeling bad that we're a little fast today.
No, that's fine. Yes, the demo file, I haven't linked it yet because I've been keeping an eye on things, but I'm working on it at the moment. People are asking about the demo file. Are there any questions? Do you want Calvin to recap anything? Diamok, I know you came in late. Do you need to see a recap of anything? Of anyone else who's like, oh, I missed something. We have 20, we theoretically could have 30 minutes. So I see people typing.
Okay. There are a couple of custom functions in here that I use that I didn't really talk about. So one of them is get parameter. And it's just a simple way of getting a value from the parameter. So if I say get parameter 1, it says get script parameter, and then it gets the first value in there. Get parameter 2 is getting the second value. So if we look at manage custom functions, and I actually stole this from Nick, get parameter, really basic here. Get value, script parameter, and then the value number. And but it really helps typing this up faster. The other thing is trim returns. When you get this value, get value will have a return in it sometimes. So I have this trim. The trim function does not remove returns at the end, but this trim returns will trim it from the end. So it takes removes returns from the end of the value.
We do have a question, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you review why marking one contact as not duplicate clears the potential duplicate from the other direction?
Yeah, okay. So that is, let's go ahead. So we're looking at Randolph and Elizabeth. So I'll review, and we see that field is where it's, this phone number is what's causing the match. and I want to say not duplicate, and it's going to remove from both. So here, if I say not duplicate, now you'll see first it updates the current record we're reviewing, in this table, ID not duplicate. And it lists the values that are already there, as well as the selected field. And then through the relationship, that temporary relationship in the ID selected, ID select duplicate relationship, we are updating that record through the relationship, updating it so that the ID not duplicate, and then adding, instead of the selected field, we're adding the ID of this primary record to that as well. And then we're clearing the selection. So first off, we're adding, maybe we should just bring up these fields. This might be helpful to see. So I'm going to say ID not duplicate. We'll look at this. So this is going to be, and then this one's ID not duplicate. So here we've got two separate, so this is I'll resize this so you can see it a little. So here for Randolph, we've got two IDs that are not duplicates. Now, the not duplicate ID does include the primary key for the given record. So here, this one, ID 29. And then it also has 28, whoever that is. Now, over here, we've got 30. That's the primary key for Elizabeth. And then we've got another ID 28, which is apparently somebody else who matched up here. So now when I say not a duplicate, first, let's look at the script next to it. Oops, not a duplicate. First, it's going to update this list. So we'll see number 30 show up. There's number 30. Then it will update this record. There's 29. So we put the 30 over here, the 29 over here, and then we cleared the selected field. And so now we don't have it. Now, sometimes you're going to run into a duplicate where two records don't match up, but they are duplicates. Two records that don't have any of those IDs, and you might say, okay, like we have this one here. We'll just call this one Randy. Randy Haggis. We'll say this is Randy's note. Now, Randy doesn't, we don't see any potential duplicates here. So what we can do here for Randy, though, is we know that there's this isn't the right record. We know that this is a duplicate. So what we can do is say find duplicate. It opens up a find, and we can search for anybody in here. And so we see there's Randy, and so Randy, we know that's the duplicate record. Now, there's nothing saying that it matched up, but we are seeing that there's the first name is wrong and the primary contact for this company isn't carried over. So we'll move that over. Now I'll say merge. And because I've got this find option, I can actually merge any record into any record. And that just makes it that much more powerful. It doesn't have to be flagged by that field that finds the duplicate records. And that gives you a lot of flexibility in matching any two records. Okay.
Muted. I'm great for being muted. We have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
So both records get updated. Would it also be possible to update only one and use a relationship to prevent it being matched as a potential duplicate? If possible, would that raise other issues?
Use a relation. You'll want to update both records if those are not duplicates, because otherwise the relationship is going to match whatever made those two records match is going to make them match from the other direction. And what it ends up doing, if you don't do that, then what it ends up doing is creating double the work, because you have to say, okay, this person isn't a match to that person. And then you have to go to that person's record and say that person isn't a match to this person. So you do want to update both records if they're not duplicates.
Hope, does that answer your question, Stu? While he's typing, there's also a request by Larry to show the change you made in relationship so they can get a screenshot of it.
Screenshot. So I'll just pull up the relationship. So the change that was missing was this one. The ID not duplicate does not equal ID contact.
Ba-ba-ba.
I think I'll make some adjustments to this and
Do you want to resend it to me?
No, I think it'll just be something I'll continue working on, and I'll send you the first one that went out will be good for now.
Stu's response is yes. I was thinking there might be a different relationship that would allow only updating one, but I suspect updating both is the better way.
But you could only update one, but I did that in one app, and we realized that we're causing twice as much work for us, because we'd say find potential duplicates, and it would bring up people we had already said they don't match. And it was showing that they did match because we only updated one record, not the other.
I saw a comment. How easy would it be to use this on a different table?
So I mean, you would essentially do the same thing. So maybe we should do this on a different table. Do we want to do that?
We've
got 15
time.
minutes.
Yep,
go ahead. So that's a good question. So what table do we want to do it on? Do we want to do staff or accounts? We're putting it up for a vote.
Are we doing staff or accounts? It'll be Discord who's voting because y'all respond faster.
We got 2 people for accounts, 3 for accounts. We're doing accounts.
Cool.
Okay.
Accounts it is.
So what I'm going to do here is actually start by going to my contacts table, copying these 3 records, and then, so I don't know that we're going to get through all of this here. And so what are our potential duplicate fields? Now in contacts, accounts, it's going to be a little different. So I'm going to do, let's see how fast we can do this. I'm going to say account name, phone number. I'm going to say fax, because we don't want to send faxes to multiple people. I'm going to say website. So those are going to be the 3. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate these and throw them up here. And say, so what was our, this is selected duplicate. So we want to ID select duplicate. Now, we're going to want to have this assigned to ID account over here. Change, okay. So we want to make sure that this is assigned to accounts. And then save that. Oh, and we want this in the right table group. Here, 1. Okay, we'll say potential duplicate fields, and we want ID account. This one, we've got to make sure that this is the right table. So now I've got the 2 table occurrences. Now I need to just add those matching fields. We'll say do not match, add. So here we're looking at potential duplicate fields and we're saying the IDs can't match, the primary keys can't match. And here we're saying, we're just saying this needs to be ID account change. So we can select one, but then also ID account, we're going to say ID account and ID account cannot match. We don't want those two to match. So this is just kind of a safeguard, so we don't accidentally select the same thing. There we go. Let's go ahead and say, okay. And now we'll go to up here and call this one resolve duplicate accounts, TO1. And let's go ahead and open this. So you'll notice nothing here matches. So I'm just going to grab these fields here, copy, and paste this here. Paste, or browse. Paste. So we have our primary record on the right. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that I do have just to group my objects, I have a slide panel to make it grouped together, which I like to do. And then on this side, I have a portal that groups everything. And because we're only looking at one record, we don't really need a portal, but it groups the records nicely. And we can do that. So now we've got all these over here. And I'm going to leave those. And oops, copy these over. Now this moment would be a great time to use Christian Olson's tool for changing these really fast, but I don't have it here right now. So I'm just going to do it the slow way. It's only a few fields. Okay. Now what were some things we wanted to match by? Account name. So here we'll say TO1 account, and then TO1 account. Make sure those match, and we'll do phone. Fax. And that'll be it. Okay. So here we'll do, so we're just showing that if these match, then we want them to highlight as a match. And let's go ahead and go in here and copy this. Say, oops, X. And we'll do email. Actually, I'll skip the rest of these. So the next thing we want to do, say back, is grab these, copy. I don't know that I have any accounts in here. I have a few, so I just created a few. And let's go ahead and remove these items. Just throw them up here to the left, right. And now here we want to grab our potential duplicates. We'll say review. We'll make this up here to potential duplicates and call it count. And now let's go over here, and I'm just going to duplicate these and call it resolve accounts. And so this one actually doesn't need to be duplicated, so I'm going to delete that. Here, we'll do T1, select duplicate. Here, T01, potential duplicate, ID account. And then we'll go to the resolve duplicate accounts table. And let's go ahead and change this one to here. And let's go ahead and see this. So we got resolve duplicate accounts with a question mark. Let's go ahead and look at that. And I think we're just referencing the wrong place. So one, we want this one, ID account. We'll delete that. So here we've got 4 potential duplicates. Why are these duplicates? The names match and the phone matches. So let's go ahead and put in let's look at the rest of these scripts. Not duplicate, we would want to update the T01 not duplicate field with T01 not duplicate. If I'm going too fast or anyone has a question along the way, that is fine. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, let me know and I'll grab it from anywhere. So,
or do they just enjoy making me work? Okay.
You got to put in all the effort.
Yeah. We got 4 minutes. Let's see where we can get in 4 minutes. Okay. Okay. T01. So that we updated that one. Now this is the one that's going to take a little more time, and we would just we should put in here an account for each of these so we know which one it is. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just say go to accounts, table view, perform find will be T01, ID account change. That part is important that we do. Delete, that's okay. And then all of these I'm just going to disable except for notes. So we'll say go to notes. Now here we want to, instead of finding of the contact, we're going to say find ID account, say change. And then here on the replace field contents, again, we want to just say ID account, ID master. So there we go. And we're referencing the right thing here. Perfect. Okay, we got those. Now we just need to make sure that the interface here is using the right scripts. So here is the not duplicate. And here is the account merge. Now we got to change our script parameter, T01, ID account, T01, selected ID account, Okay, let's go ahead and make one change here. I'm going to change the phone number. Oh, no, that's not. Let's change. I'm not going to do that. Let's do this one. So here we just need to, we'll call this one field account. And then here, TO1, select a duplicate account. So here, we would just need to make sure that this field name object is defined over here. So then it knows where it needs to go. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back over here. And let's go back over here. Let's make this button go back to accounts. So we go back to accounts. There we are in accounts. And I'm going to say, I'm going to grab this phone number, copy, say new, and ABC company. And let's go ahead and try some of these out. I think this won't work. Let's do this. Perform a find here. And all that we're doing is looking for anything through that relationship. So this is this one, ID account. So I'm going to point it to the primary key just so we know that, because we know that field has value in it. So find records with potential duplicates, 6 out of 6. And let's go ahead and review this ABC company. Now we see that we have a match here, so that's great. I'm going to say not duplicate. And the first time I do something like this, I'm just going to double check to see that with the script debugger to make sure everything looks good. And it puts not duplicate in there. Now, one thing I noticed here in the not duplicate button, I don't think it quite worked. This one as an auto enter calculation. So I want ID count in there. The primary key, not the primary key for contacts to be included. So that didn't cause a problem at this point. I just noticed it. So now when we do find potential duplicates, it's finding 6. So here we can review these, not a duplicate. Let's just go ahead and remove this phone number. And now they're not duplicates. Now here, let's go ahead and create some notes. New note, just to make sure that these are working. Note 3. Note 2. And one thing that I'd like to do, I didn't do in here, is sometimes I'll have on the side here a count of how many notes they have, how many related records they have, and you can kind of tell which contact record or which account record is being used more. Let's go ahead and say which one has a note in here. This one, O2. So this is the O2 one. We'll say merge. See if that worked. We've got one less record here, and we've got 2 records in the bio. So that worked as well. This isn't completely done. We would still need to address those. Let's go back over here. We would still need to address the rest of the matching buttons. I think the last 2 I didn't do, and all of those arrow buttons, matching them with the fields over here. But that got the bulk of it done. And we'd also need to finish the merge to evaluate each of the other tables. Any other questions before we wrap it up?
Nope. But a lot of people were very impressed with how quickly you redid this. So
yeah, well, I already did it once, so it's faster doing it the second time.
Yep. No, I'm gonna let people type a little bit.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming out this afternoon on your Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. Have a
Yes.
great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.